Hello again, lovelies, and welcome back to another review from Through the Eyes of Enji, where we're trying to cover 101 films in 365 days, raising money for We Are With You and the Shoreby Village Players. We Are With You is a confidential service for young people and families affected by drugs and alcohol in Shropshire. Their work includes information, support and advice about drugs and alcohol, one-to-one support, group work, a parent-carer helpline, help to make decisions about lifestyle, links to other services, early intervention, and harm reduction. Now, if you've known me for any particular length of time, you're probably aware of the Shoreby Village Players. We are a community theatre group based out of, unsurprisingly, Shoreby. We'll do a bit of anything on stage. We'll do murder mysteries, we'll do comedy, we'll do pantomime. Oh no, we won't. Oh yes, we will. Shut up. And we'll even do a bit of Shakespeare. Now, if you've struggled with your mental health over the last few years, like I have, then you might appreciate, like I do, the impact it would have losing something like the Shoreby Village Players. So, dig in your pockets, sponsor us a few quid, give us a film, I'll give it a review. I might like it, I might love it. I might want to dance watching it, or I might wish I was watching Barbie Princess Dream School. Yep, this time we're looking at Ballerina, or Leap as it's known in the United States. Released in 2016, directed by Eric Summer, written by Eric Summer, Carol Noble and Laurent Zeaton, based on a story by Laurent Zeaton and Eric Summer, starring Ellie Fanning as Felicie, Dane DeHaan as Victor, Carly Rae Jepsen as Odette, Maddie Ziegler as Camille, and Joe Shearden as the director of the opera. An orphan girl dreams of becoming a ballerina and flees an orphanage in rural Brittany for Paris, where she passes for someone else and accedes to the position of pupil at the Grand Opera House. Some of you are sadists for making me watch things like this. Now, I have to confess, I made a mistake when I was reviewing Ballerina. I didn't type up my notes as soon as I'd watched the film, and therefore I found myself trying to remember most of the film, apart from the bad stuff. However, I did make plenty of notes. I had time to make plenty of notes when I wasn't finding myself wishing I was rewatching Barbie Princess Charm School rather than having to push my way through Ballerina. And before you say anything, yeah, I know, children's film appealing to young audiences. I know. But I keep saying again and again, and I'm sure I will have to say it again, just because it's a children's film doesn't mean you can half-ass things. In fact, you should really be trying a lot harder. And this film is just lazy. Its overall story borrows more than a little from the story of Anastasia, and then after that introduction, it devolves into a story that is fairly common in children's films, where you've got this young girl who wants to be a dancer. She finds a mentor who discovers a hidden talent, and she beats all the other girls who are there. She lets a boy distract her from her dreams, and she fails and hits ground zero. But she finds another chance and succeeds. The problem is, round about the time Felicie, who's an irritating, self-centered little shit, finds that she has some talent, I'd already checked out. Simply because there isn't a chance event that has Felicie being given a chance to become a ballet dancer. She does it by stealing somebody else's chance and identity and lies her way into the school and therefore doesn't have a moral foot to stand on. And you gotta wonder about the message that's putting through to the target audience, so you can get what you want by cheating and lying. And she's enabled to continue being a fraud because because it feels like there's an unresolved storyline that I was expecting, because Felicie is discovered abandoned as a baby with nothing more than a musical box. And I was half expecting like her passed away mother is going to be an old protege or a ex-head mistress or something. of the opera house school for dancers, which might explain why she has this undiscovered talent for ballet dancing and why she's allowed to stay because someone has clocked onto that fact. But nothing ever comes of the music box. And the only thing I can come up with is the teacher's kind of taken a shine to her for reasons that remain hidden in some scriptwriter's mind, maybe one of the three of them. And something else that really annoyed me, and there was a lot that annoyed me about Ballerina, is the music. And it feels like in a move that's purely aimed at raising the appeal of the film to the target audience, which, as you probably have gathered by now, I am not part of that target audience. Rather than embracing a golden opportunity to use classical music from the ballet or updating or giving a modern twist on classical music from ballet, the soundtrack just uses kind of generic pop songs that all kind of blended into one to grind down my spirit and offend my ears. And the film doesn't exactly help itself by following the trend of choosing voice talent based on star power rather than actual talent. Now, this isn't a new phenomenon by any means, but before Aladdin and the casting of Robin Williams, and in the same vein, this was when Aladdin was being produced, Robin Williams was also playing the part of Batty in Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest. So it's not wasn't Disney, got to remember that the part of the genie was written for Robin Williams specifically, rather than them just taking advantage of his name and his very famous persona. But after Aladdin, the trend grew exponentially for a very long time of just muscling in famous names to do voices. Like if you look at Pocahontas when you got Mel Gibson as John Smith. And it isn't as bad as it used to be. It's certainly not something that's played on a lot in Pixar films, really. And I suppose the worst offender, as always, is Shrek was probably one of the worst offenders for publicising itself on voice talent rather than actually being a good film. And Ballerina definitely falls into that trap as well. And it doesn't help, unfortunately, that the script is just awful and wooden and just horrific with some of the characters and how they talk and interact with each other. And then, as an attempt at comedy, it's more on the level of fart jokes and people falling over in funny ways as comedy. And you could argue that maybe that's just playing to a younger target audience, but I would counter that relying on fart jokes is an insult to the target audience of young girls who love dancing. And let's keep in mind, looking at me, I'm not a ballet dancer, and I don't think I'm ever going to be a ballet dancer. But based on my limited knowledge on this subject, I would suspect that it probably takes more than a week to become a ballet dancer capable of dancing one of the leads in Swan Lake. And I did wonder, watching the film, whether there were going to be people who do dance ballet who might just be more than a little hacked off at this. And then, on top of all that, this utterly bizarre pot of a film, really the last nail in the coffin for me came when they inserted a final action sequence that almost felt like it had been dropped in from another film. And I just didn't understand why a film that was based around being a ballerina needed to come towards a conclusion with a chase sequence over the partially assembled Statue of Liberty. And following this utterly bizarre chase comes a continuation of a really toxic relationship between our two leads that just goes on to emphasize what terrible people we're dealing with here. None of them are good people, really. There was one character who I liked. I didn't laugh once. I barely smiled at all. and it's boring, it's predictable, it's insulting to the intelligence of the target audience, and whilst it paints itself as a story of not giving up on your dreams, the lead character paints an awful role model to the target audience, and who just, if you lie and you cheat, then you're going to be allowed to continue and lie and cheat, and you're going to get your dream. And that is an appalling role model. And this is a film that doesn't seem to care. Is it more about the animation? Is it more about making a quick buck somewhere? It's just drivel. And this came out in the same year as the Emoji Movie. And I haven't seen the Emoji Movie. Do not nominate me to watch the Emoji Movie, because I don't want to do it. And Ballerina is just awful. And I can't imagine any other children's film that came out that year that could be even as bad. It's definitely one of the worst animated films I've ever seen. And I've seen Hoodwinked and I've seen The Return of Jafar. So I can say that those are better films than this. If you want to watch it with your young daughters, don't. There's so many better films out there that will provide a more positive role model than Felicie in this. And you might actually enjoy it yourself. Hell, watch Barbie Princess Charm School. I've reviewed it. And I didn't really know what to think of Barbie Princess Charm School because I'm not a young girl. But I could appreciate what it was going for, and I could understand why children would like it. Whereas Ballerina, I don't get that. I hated watching the film. It just offended me on all these levels. And yet, again, I know it's a children's film. And that probably made me angrier. Because children's films are wonderful things that inspire and create ideas for young children that they carry for the rest of their life. Look at me with Star Wars. And look how that affected me as I grew up. And the role model I had in Luke Skywalker. Ballerina is like the polar toxic opposite of that. Where it's an appalling role model in a film that has no structure. And a film that teaches young women that they can be horrific to other people. And they will continue to follow them round with puppy dog eyes. And there's a boy in this, Victor. He wants to be an inventor. Again, completely out of nowhere. Builds wings they fly around on. The film can't make up its mind. And Felicie, the lead girl, is just horrible to him. She's horrific. She takes advantage of him constantly. He's just there. He's quite obviously besotted with her. And she plays up to it and just shoves him out the way when a young rich lad turns up, who's just another obnoxious stereotype of an aristocratic Frenchman. And the whole thing is just awful. And I know a young girl who loves this film asked me to do it. And I just despaired watching it. That this is the sort of thing that we're still getting when there are so many wonderful children's films that are out there. And I'm always starting to think that I should put like make a meter in place where we're at one end of children's films we've got The Incredibles, which, you've got your good role models. You've got an exciting story. It's got a bit of a dark side, but it doesn't take it too far. It's interesting, and it makes you think, children think, and talk about ideas. And then at the other end of the scale, you've got Ballerina, with no good role models. It's long, it's boring, it's badly structured, it's terribly written. Ballerina is bloody awful. Don't watch it yourself. Don't watch it with your children. Just forget it. It's done. I'd never have to think about it again. Here's the slip. Never have to think about it again. And next time we're doing Death to Smoochie. This next one's going to be weird. I'll see you on Sunday. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Consider sponsoring me. 23 quid off now. We are so nearly there. And when we get there, I have decided that when we hit the £250 target, the money is going to be split down the middle and passed to We Are With You and the Shoreby Village players. Times like this, I know the Village Players 1 are desperate for any funding they can get to help pay the bills that would normally be paid if I was prancing around on stage instead of doing these reviews right now. So have a think about it, nominate a film, let's have some fun. Next time, Death to Smoochie. Thank you for watching.